there, survivors, how's it going? I'm your host Douglas here at Dromway Productions, bringing you another Screaming Ghostface Collector's video. And I want to start today's video by saying that I hope all of you have had a wonderful spooky season so far, and that you've been able to add many wonderful, awesome additions to your horror or mask collection. And with that being said, I also just wanted to give a quick reminder to those of you who have entered in the Little Shop of Horrors sweepstakes to win the knife, robe, and mask, or even just the knife. I'll be hosting the drawing for those winners on October 13th, which is this Sunday at 9 p.m. So be sure to tune in to see that drawn live. And if you do miss it drawn live, I will go ahead and leave that video up for at least a few days after. Now with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into today's video, because we have a whole medley of different things being added to the collection. Some of them are definitely horror related, some of them only loosely horror related. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Let's start things off with what was technically one of my first additions this season, one of the weirdest eBay finds I've had in quite a while. Here we have this very odd vinyl Frankenstein mask. It's clearly supposed to be Frankenstein, but it's just a very weird looking mask for a couple of reasons. Let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room, which is not this, but this. The weird stitched in hair alongside the sculpted in hair is a very odd look. With how curly the hair is, it kind of gives it a Leatherface vibe. And you know what else gives it a Leatherface vibe? The fact that the mouth and the eyes are kind of trimmed out on this in a very weird, gruesome way. Taking a look at the sculpture style and the fact that this is made out of vinyl, it does look to be very reminiscent of the West Germany masks, but this is not a West Germany mask. It doesn't match anything I've ever seen in their catalogs, and also, looking at the stamp here on the neck, it seems to say made in Taiwan. I don't really know much more about it. I don't know which company produced this piece, honestly. However, since I've received it, I have managed to find what a full copy of one of these looks like, but these are incredibly rare. This is certainly not a mask I've seen pop up too often in the community, but just with how the scars are, the mouth and eyes being trimmed out all weird, and the hair, of course, it just looks like a really odd, gruesome Frankenstein Leatherface mask, and personally, I love it. And moving right along, pretty much everything else in today's video, almost everything, comes to us from a fellow friend and collector, Lockridge Masks. So let's go ahead and dive into those items. Starting off, we actually do have a note here from Jackson. Alright, it says, "Hey Douglas, Jack here, longtime viewer but first time sender. Your videos always entertain, and I could spend hours watching them. The passion you ooze for the things you love is seriously admirable, and your videos help me out of a very dark place in my life. And when people ask about Ghostface masks, you're the first person I direct them to. The fact that we've been able to touch base and start what I consider to be a friendship has been exciting. And I can't wait to see what projects we get up to. Wink. Keep being you. Hope you enjoy what's in here. For everyone else watching, you can find me at almost any platform under the username Lockridge Masks." Now, as for the other project that he mentioned there, let's just say there's a possibility that he could end up sculpting a variant of the Drown Ghoul here in the near future. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of these items, starting with this really cool classic style skull mask. Now, I don't know if this is one of the Party City versions or a Spirit Halloween version. I know Spirit has done a ton of these, and this is more than likely a Spirit mask, but honestly I can't remember. Regardless, it is just a really, really cool mask, and I think one of the reasons he sent this to me is because the eye shape does kind of vaguely resemble the original Drown Ghoul mask's eye shape. This is a pretty sweet mask, and I may repaint it or I may leave it exactly as is. Regardless, thank you for that, and let's go ahead and look at the next piece. Alright, here we have one of the EL wire light up Ghostface masks, and this in specific is one of the costume variants. At least I'm pretty sure it is. I don't see any glue on it where it would have been a fully shrouded version. I'm not really a huge fan of these masks. Just overall, it didn't really seem like they were too well received by the community either. But I do appreciate you sending me this, and I'm sure I can do something with it, whether it be draw all over it and still just have it be a light up Ghostface mask kind of display piece, or maybe I could, just repaint it entirely, add a shroud to it, make something cool out of it. So I greatly appreciate it, and I guess we'll see what I can make out of this thing here in the future. Alright, for you Screaming Ghostface fans, I'll go ahead and give you what you want, the real reason that you're here. If you want to continue watching the video afterwards, that's awesome, but I can completely understand if it doesn't interest you. Here we have a Poly Shroud EU MK stamped Ghostface mask. And, of course, at first sight, many of you would think that this is one of the RDS style masks. Well, I say many of you. I think at this point the community has grown a decent bit, and I would like to believe that at this point more people can tell the difference between one of these MKs and an RDS just by looking at them at this point. But still, in case many of you are new to this or you maybe don't know, there are a few different versions of some of these masks that have the same style stamp. So they will have some kind of a pet name to some degree, like the RDS being nicknamed that because of it being used in Randy's death scene. This one in particular, funny enough, ended up getting the nickname the RDS Lookalike because the shape of the eyes are very similar. But once you get used to being able to ID these masks, you can easily tell the difference, not just by the eye shape, but really by the mouth shape. In my opinion, the mouth shape is one of the easiest things to give it away, but you know, the nose for the RDS versus these is a good bit different as well. So for those of you that are new, it may take you a little while to get used to being able to tell those differences at a first glance, but it's definitely worth learning. And as far as these styles, they are somewhat rare, they are pretty uncommon, but they're not super sought after. But just because it's not a super rare, super sought after mask doesn't mean I'm not seeking one, because personally I did not have one of these in my collection, so now I at least have one of this sculpture represented in the museum. Alright, and moving right along, we have a few other items that I did receive from Jackson, but these are not necessarily Ghostface related. But these are still items I'm extremely excited to add here to the collection. And I guess we'll get things started in a super way with the Super Nintendo. Now, I wanted to add one of these consoles to my collection pretty much just to play one game in particular, and I'll tell you guys what that is in just a second. And it turned out that Jackson happened to have one that he was willing to trade. He had two consoles complete with all the cords and controllers, so I received an entire working Super Nintendo alongside... Guys, this is something I'm so happy to add to the collection. Here we have my very first copy of Super Metroid. Now, for any of you watching out there, Metroid is a fantastic game series. It is probably my favorite game series of all time. It is definitely one that I've always loved from my childhood, and I've held it near and dear. And to most people who are Metroid fans, Super Metroid is the cream of the crop. This is top tier, not even just in the world of Metroid games. This is one of the most well-loved video games of all time. And beyond that, it is a game that has been so absent from my life that this is actually the very first copy I have ever seen in person. Out of all the conventions I've been to and stuff like that, I have never come across another physical copy of Super Metroid until I've seen this one right here in my very hands. And as a huge fan of this franchise, words cannot describe how extremely excited I am to finally dive in and play this game. So Jackson, out of everything you've sent me here, this is for sure the item I'm most excited about, and I cannot wait to play it. Thank you. Alright, the camera's overheating, so it's time to move right along to the last item in today's video. And this is technically something that Jackson helped me with, but this item in particular is more so something that we found while out searching for Halloween stuff. This wasn't featured in any of my videos, but here we have a classic first edition Nintendo Wii. It's so weird to be mentioning a Wii on the channel, but I picked up this Wii for $16. It still has the sticker on it right here. And I mean, this thing was actually like really clean, nice and new, not really, you know, dusty, dirty. It was clearly pretty much a brand new console. The only thing it was missing were all of the cords and, you know, Wiimote, everything that goes to it. It was just the console itself. So I went ahead and picked this up for the same reason I picked up the Super Nintendo, which is to play a few different Metroid games. Mainly the Metroid Prime games, but to be fair, I've never given Other M a chance, so maybe later I'll subject myself to that. But for now, I'm going to enjoy playing the Metroid Prime games, and I have to thank Jackson for sending me all of the cords, cables, and everything for this Wii. It turns out that he had an extra set of cables, so this ended up working out perfectly, and kinda because of this trade, I now have a working Super Nintendo and Nintendo Wii. And I think that about does it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I know it featured some rather odd stuff, like video game consoles and masks. So with that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe. I love you all, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.